Hello and welcome. We have got another item to show you. This I am rather keen to show you. I had a bit of a complaint about the new XT5 that I bought, because on my XT4 you have a nice articulating screen that I can flip around, and people will notice that I've modified my actual camera bracket, my L bracket, so that my L bracket is no longer on this edge. It's actually been moved forward. You can see on there, and if I do focus on that area for you so you can see it, it's been moved forward. I have this little bar on there, and I've actually made a few of these for other people as well, which means I can actually flip out my articulating screen. I can flip it around all the way without a problem. It doesn't interfere with it at all. I can then use my camera this direction and look in it this way. If I wanted to shoot the other way, I can look in this direction and shoot this direction. If I go to an L bracket and flip it over onto the L bracket, I can actually look down on my camera and have it this way round, and I can look down on my camera, or if I've got my camera up in the air, I can look at the screen and I can see my screen that way. So this is an absolutely brilliant screen for landscape photography, and Fuji have done away with it. The other thing I like about this is I can flip it round, I can close it up, and then on the back of the screen, this is protected. There's no screen on display at all to be getting damaged. I know they don't get damaged easy, but it just doesn't get damaged. Now I've got something to go on my XT5, because on the XT5, on the back of this XT5, you can see they've changed the screen, and the screen now flips up, or it flips down, or it flips out. There is no way I can use my camera above my head and look in this screen anymore. They've absolutely done away with that option. A very, very poor decision, I think, but I know many people like it. They call it a photographer's camera, not a vlogging camera. Well, I don't use this screen for looking at it this way. I actually use it so when I've got the screen up in the air or down on the ground, I can go in any direction I want and still look at the back of the screen. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I'm sure there's a better way of doing it, if you don't want a full flippy screen, that you can articulate it so it bends for all 4 different axes, and that is a big shame for me, it really is. So I put out a bit of a cry on my Facebook page to see if there's a bracket or some other way of dealing with my camera. And the reason I've got a problem is, if you look at my XT4 at the moment, it's sitting on the tripod like this. It's quite happily sitting on the tripod, and then when I want to do an orientation, I can flip it round from horizontal to vertical, put it back onto the tripod like so, and I'm now shooting vertical. This means I can put my flippy screen down and I can actually look up in the air, I can look up at it or look down at it, and I've got my camera in a vertical orientation. Now at the moment the XT5 is quite new and there's no L brackets out as such, or they're coming out, and I will have one soon. But when it comes out, I've got an issue with it. Like I said, I can't flip the screen and see when I'm looking up. So if I've got this balance on a cliff or an edge, I can't actually see that screen and I can't get an image. But, if we do away with this, we have a new solution. A company contacted me. Company is Silent Corner. Silent Corner make these L brackets that are not L brackets. They're actually an O bracket. That's what I'm going to call it, an O bracket. So why I'm talking about the O bracket, it's purely because I'm talking about this item I've got in my hand at the moment, and it's this. As you can see there, I've got a bracket mounted to my camera, and this is the XT5. Like I say, it's got a standard flip out screen. All I can do is go up and down or flip out to the hand grip, but I can't go the other way around. This may solve my problems. Now, as you can see, I've got this big metal ring around the middle there, and I'm going to mount this on the tripod a slightly different way, because it's got a plate on it that's slightly longer one way than it is the other way. It just means you've got to mount it on the side rather than on the end. And then if I flip this round for you, you can see it's mounted on a tripod. My camera is no longer close to the edge. This is actually mounted further back. Now, they do different mounts. There are 3 different mounts plus 1, and I will explain the differences on these for you. But you'll notice that the camera is mounted centrally over the lens rather than it is mounted on the back of the camera. If you wanted to mount it on the camera, you can. You can actually mount it on this bracket on the back of the camera, so that your camera is now mounted on the back, the same as it was with the XT4 and the L bracket. So it fits on there, and it sits on there quite nicely, and it does fit really, really well. The good thing with this bracket on the back here is this bracket actually fits your capture plate. So instead of on my XT4 I've got an L bracket, then I've got the little plate on the bottom there which sits on my capture plate that slots on the top of my bag. I've got an added bracket on there. This one's actually built in. This is actually built into the bottom of the camera, the bottom of the mount, and it means it can sit on my capture plate and I've got no issues with it whatsoever. But you've also got a second hot shoe. You can take this off if you really wanted to. You can actually remove this added piece. There's only 2 screws in the bottom if you don't want that on there, and just use the one plate. Something I might do in the future, but at the moment it's new to me and I want to get it out and use it and test it out in the field. So we mount this on the side of the tripod like that. And you can see it's now mounted on the tripod. Now, if I want to flick this orientation round, you can see there's no L bracket on here. So I've actually got no brackets around the side of the camera whatsoever. So if you want to flip this round and you want to do a vertical image, there's a little screw on the side here. You literally undo that screw, flip it round. It's done. That's it. It is as fast as you can possibly do it. There's less than a second to turn it from landscape to orientation to vertical orientation. So super fast. But what's really good about this is you don't have to go left to right. You can actually go right to left. You can now lock this camera the other way up. So where I said before that on standard L brackets, when you've got an L bracket there and you're going to flip the camera around to the side like this, when I flip my camera up, and it won't come down, remember, it only goes up, I can't see in the lens. Now, with this design, it means I can now flip it the other way around, and I can actually have my camera the other way around, and I can still see this screen. I think that is an absolute game changer, and it is so fast. And what more, you can also flip it all the way over and have it upside down. And it is absolutely solid when it's there. You can flip it all the way upside down, which means you can have this then mounted on the bottom of your tripod, hanging down, and you can still see the camera at the bottom. So when you turn this camera upside down, for instance, so your tripod is hanging like this, the camera is still the right way up. It's no longer like when most people turn their cameras upside down and they hang it from a tripod, it's upside down, you can't get your controls. You can flip it round, and I can now have my camera the right way up. I'm hitting my lamp up there. You can have the camera right way up when it's hanging from the bottom of the tripod. So if you're into macro, if you're into your low work, this is going to be brilliant, absolutely brilliant for using on your camera on the low ground shots. It might mean I might do a few more of those, because you know yourself, when you've got the camera hanging from a tripod, it's very difficult to use the buttons because it's all upside down. And not only that, is you can actually flip it horizontal, both directions, and have it vertical, both directions, when it's hanging down. So you have the option to flip it from one to the other, because it is really difficult to undo your camera, turn your camera around and do it back up when it's hanging down upside down. So this is brilliant. What's more is the weight is then moved forward on the camera. Again, testing is one of those things. I need to test it to make sure everything works properly. It's very strong. When it's in this orientation, you can see I can pick this up. It's not going to move at all. I've got to lock that off. So just lock it off. There's a little tiny screw there. You just lock it off. And there is actually a click. If you listen carefully, it clicks. You can just hear that click when it clicks into place. So that goes from horizontal to vertical, 180 degrees upside down. Now there isn't one on this side. There isn't a click there. Maybe that's a modification they can do later on, but absolutely brilliant idea. Now they do these mounts. There's 3 different mounts you can get. They call it an Atoll. It's the Atoll series mount. I am really keen to be using this. There is also a strap mount on the back there. It's got a loop there, so you can actually put a strap through this if you wanted to put a carry strap on it or a handle strap. Like I say, it's got the built-in Peak Design capture clip standard fitting on the side there. You've got Arca Swiss compatible plate on the front. This is Arca Swiss compatible, so you can mount this on your tripod in several different ways. You can have it on that way, you can have it on this way, you can have it on this way, or this way round, sorry. There are different ways round you can actually have this, but I think this is brilliant. I think it's a really good idea, and I'm very keen to be using it and trying it out. Like I said, there is 3 different designs. I'm going to just read off the screen next to you what we've actually got here. So we've got the Atoll Model S, the Atoll Model C, and the Atoll Model D, which is this one. So your S is for, and I will have to read this off the screen for you, your S model, depending on what camera system you use, basically it says basically Atoll has 3+1 model, which is where I'm a +1. The Atoll S is for Sony cameras. So it's for Sony cameras. This ring will sit closer to the body on some cameras. On my camera, it's got an extension on the bottom, so it's pushing the ring further forward so I can get to my dials on the side. I can still use my aperture ring, which is just on the edge there. Different lenses will fit in different ways. If I want to change my lens, again, if I change my lens, I can take this off. You can see the ring still mounted on the front there, and I can take the lens and I can put my other lens on. Literally goes in the middle of the ring, and when I line the spots up, it goes on. Okay, so I can put a different lens on there quite easily, and I'll do that again for you. You can see the mounts on there. I literally undo the button, take the lens off, put the other lens in the hole, line up your mount and get it on. Okay, so it does go on very, very well. The camera mount, the lens that's on there at the moment is quite a deep mount, and what I will do is I'll get my other lenses out in a moment, and I'll do a bit of B-roll over the top of why I'm talking about the different mounts and show you that the other lenses all fit at the same time. One little thing I'd like to try is my big 100 to 400mm lens, which is obviously going to be a bigger lens, and it's got its own foot on the bottom, and I'd just like to see if the other foot just fits underneath this, because I'd like to balance it off the lens rather than off the camera if possible. But I will test it and try it out and see. It may actually find that by using this mount it works even better still, which is great because I can take those extra feet off the lenses. But I will try them all, but this is designed big enough to be able to fit all the Sony lenses, hopefully. So yeah, like I say, you've got the Model C. The Model C is for the Sony cameras. You've got a Model C. Model C is for Canon and Nikon mirrorless cameras. And then you've got a Model D, which is what I use. A Model D is for DSLR cameras. So your standard DSLR cameras aren't a Canon, Nikon mirrorless or a Sony mirrorless. You buy the Model D. Now the Model D has a extended foot on the bottom. They do actually come with a standard short foot as well. I've got one here to show you. This is the short foot. And oh, they've got really good zippy bags. They all come with extra screws, so you get an extra 1/4 inch screw. You've got 1/4 inch thread in the bottom. They come with the extra screws for mounting the ring as well, and they also come with these little rubber embushments for putting underneath the camera, so you get it exactly level and nice and flat. So yeah, like I say, it comes with this standard plate, or you know, depending on which kit you buy, you get a standard plate. This one, as you can see, is a lot shorter than the one that's on the bottom. If I was to flip this round underneath, so you can see it there. Okay, so you'll see you've got your Peak Designs capture piece, and I've got this little extra bit there which is like 3/4 of an inch long at the bottom. If you look at this one is exactly the same as that one, but you haven't got that extra length on the front. So by putting this on the camera, this ring then would come further back. Now I am going to do some tests to see if I can bring the ring further back, because if I can, it will be better. But I'm thinking that where this, you can just see my fingers going through the bottom there. If I bring this ring any closer, I won't be able to flip this round there. So I quite like the idea of having that extra inch, because I can actually flip this round, and depending on the size of the tripod head, this will actually come round on this orientation. This way isn't a problem, but I like to make sure my hand grip comes past so I can use the camera that way round. So that's how it works. It's quite simple, quite easy, and in all fairness, you don't even have to lock it off. You can flip it round like that, take the picture, and then you can flip it back. And where the little keyway is, you don't actually have to lock this off. It still stays there, it stays in that position, and if I'm not touching it, it's not going to move. So I can take a picture like that, flip it round, take a picture like that, and then flip it back and take a picture like that. Very, very quick. I don't even have to lock it off. Excuse me, I've got an itchy nose. So yeah, it comes with a standard plate as well. You can get one with a standard plate, which is obviously for the different camera mounts, maybe Olympus or something like that. Also, with my camera, because it's the Model D with an extension, or Model D plus one, mine is a small narrow body. The XT5 is a really stumpy little camera body, and because it's a stumper camera body, you have to get this ring centralized to the front of your lens. Let's take the lens hood off. You can see on the front there, it's actually centralized to the lens. In fact, let me just change the lens and put a smaller lens on for you so you can see. Let's put that one on for you. And we'll just take our Maven, let's just take our Maven filter system off. So we'll take it off there. Right, you can see that on front of the lens on there now. You can see that it's mounted round the front of the lens, and consequently the ring is nice and central to where the lens is. And then when I flip this, you can see the way it's flipping round there. The lens is not moving at all. The lens stays in exactly the same place, which means that you don't have to change your focus position. You don't have to change your focus point. So from vertical to horizontal, horizontal to vertical, your plane of focus, your framing is staying exactly in the same place. Really, really good, because when you change the point on the camera on an L bracket, when you go on an L bracket, you'll go from this position, okay, and then you'll lift the camera up to go to that position. So you can see the difference in height. My lens is actually lifting an inch or so above the ground. So with this one, it's staying in the same place. Okay, so we're on this system to keep this ring nice and central. I'm just going off piece a little bit, aren't I? There is an extension plate to go on the bottom. It's actually a little build-up plate, so you have to get this little plate. So if you're buying it for a Fuji, especially the XT4 or the XT5, because they're so stumpy, you get this little extension plate, which basically just adjusts the height of the camera body, and it's all screwed together very, very tightly. It all locks in together. Let's just do this up tight. Let's take this off. This all locks in very tightly, and you see the extension plate is there, and it just heightens the camera by a quarter of an inch, something like that, and just make sure it all fits. And it does fit very, very, very tightly, very, very snugly. Good Allen keys, which they send you the Allen keys as well. So far so good, and very impressed with the with the kit altogether. There are, let me have a look. There's just a couple of other things on the screen I'd like to just mention. So I've got my Atoll D system, okay, my D model. I've got my heightening plate, and you can also have the extending plate, which is what I've got on this one. So this is the full kit for my Fuji. There's not much more I can tell you about it, apart from some pricing. Now, I have done a price conversion. I'll just look on the screen for you. The price conversion, I'm just getting some confirmation, and if I get the confirmation before I put this video out, I'll put it up on the screen for you now. And they're listed on the screen. The Atoll D model is 2,880, I think that's Chinese dollars. The extension plate is 390, and the heightening plate is 300. But I think it is an absolutely fantastic, game-changing idea, and I'm very pleased to see how this pans out, and how good it is actually out in the field while I'm using it. Features are changes in 1 second. Well, yeah, I've already showed you that. It doesn't get any quicker than that. It really doesn't get any quicker and faster and simpler than that. 183 rotation. Okay, so you've got 183 rotation all the way round. It'll just keep going round and round and round. And not only that, is if you've got this undone, you can go this way, and you can basically turn the camera any direction you want. I think for panos as well. I think for panos, you're turning more on the plane as well, on the nodal point a little bit more. So it might actually work well on panos. Working a lot better in that way as well. Change lens direction without disabling it yet. So I haven't got a. Once this is done up, once I've done this up and locked it off tight, I have the clip system. I can go back now to a screw one, because once this is on tight, I don't have to take it off. This can stay on here, you can stay locked on. I can carry my camera around and stuff like that, and I do not have to undo this again. So once it's on and it's on tight, when sometimes you take them off and you put them on, and you just haven't quite nipped it up tight, because you're flipping it from one side to the other, and you're turning it around and turning it back. With this system, once you've put it in and you've done it up tight, it's staying there, because the only thing you've got to do is undo this little screw on the side and flip it round and nip it up. It really is as quick and simple as that. 3 model height plates. Yes, so we've got different height plates, and that's it. I'm not gonna waffle on anymore, because I've waffled on long enough. It is made of an aluminium. I hope you'll take a look at these. If you're watching this video pre the 2022 Christmas video, Atoll have given me 2 of these systems to give away as well, to fit any of your camera model. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much to Silent Corner for doing that. It's really, really good of you, and I hope to be doing some more with them soon. Brilliant design. Please take a look at it. If you've just got the XT5 as well, and you're like me and you want to be able to flip your camera the other way up, so you can still use the screen like that. You see, the screen only goes one direction. This is definitely the system for you. I can now look down on my camera, look up at it. I can flip it round, and I can look down on my camera. Very, very quick, very, very easy, and very, very simple to use. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've got one of these systems and you've used it out on the field, and there's anything you want me to know about it, please let me know how you've got on with it. There is one thing there's one small note I do have to add to this video, why I'm doing the video. I have to tell you this, and I've contacted Silent Corner and mentioned this to them. When I first got this system for my Fuji, now I don't know whether it's an XT5 thing, but I'd like you to just have a little look at the flippy out thing on the side. Wait, the flippy out thing, goodness me. The battery flap. Okay, now when I first got this system, the battery flap would not fold all the way out. So when I was trying to get my battery out, I was having an issue to get my battery out, and I will put a picture up on the screen now from my phone. The actual plate, this small plate that comes with it, which is on the bottom there, this plate I had to file and I know what you're saying, they should make it exactly the system right, but this is a new system out, okay? There's an edge on here. You can just see this edge on the side. If I can just tap on the screen for you. Let's see if I can get it in focus. But this little tiny edge on the side there, I had to take 1 to 2 millimeters off this edge. Now, if you've got a bit of sandpaper or you've got a little file, you can do it by your hand. We know it's a slight design problem. It's also on the plate. You know, the extension plate and the other plate. It's a very small design problem. What they have said to me is the best way to fix this problem is to flip the plate round, so it's the opposite way round, a different orientation, but it's still slightly fouled on the plate on the bottom of this. Now, I don't know if it does the same on the XT4. I've only had it mounted on my XT5, but it's a very small, very slight issue, which I have fixed with a file, and it works perfectly now. But it is something that you must be very aware of if you have a Fuji camera. And I've only tested it on the Fuji because it's the only way I know. It is one small thing that you may have to just slightly modify just to make it work until they've done an upgrade on it and they fix the issue in the systems when they're supplying them. So they did ask me to mention this, just so you know. They will be putting out a disclaimer. They would disclose this on the website once I've passed them back the information and given the photographs. They're actually going to put this on the website, so you will know this. It's not a big problem if you're okay to take the bracket off and change your battery. It's just the fact that when this plate came down, it was just slightly off. It was just touching just a little bit, and you couldn't quite get your battery out. It was just at a slight angle, and I fixed it very, very easily. Okay, so please be aware of this if you're buying for a Fuji. If, on the other hand, if you're in the UK and you want one of these and you want me to modify it, I will happily do it for you. Okay, I will happily modify it for you and send it to you, as long as you cover the postage from my house to their house, you know, to your house. I've got a sander and an electric sander, and I can just literally take it off in about 2 minutes. Okay, it's not a problem. So again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give us that thumbs up, and yes, please give me your feedback. Again, if you've got a Fuji XT5 and this doesn't happen to you on yours, then even better still. Okay, ciao for now. See you soon, and love it. The O-ring, not the L bracket, the O bracket. Brilliant design. Okay, so just a quick head note on this mount, and it's something, again, it's a disclaimer, or it's something that I've shown and tried and tested. I just want to make a note. I've tried the other plate on, the smaller plate, and I've had a look around it. Now, if you put the smaller plate on, you can't operate the controls on the side of the lenses, because the Fuji lenses, as you know, have the aperture on the side like the old style. So the way the system's set up at the moment, it works really, really well. I can change my 18 to 55. This is my standard traveling kit, which is what I would take out. My 18 to 55, my 70 to 300, and my 10 to 24. All these three lenses fit on this system perfectly. I can operate all the controls on the lenses and everything. What I do want to make a point of, and this is really, really important, I've tried the 100 to 400 on. You can't get the 100 to 400 on with the bracket, so you have to take the screws out and take the bracket off, which isn't a big issue, but you can't fit the lens on. It doesn't physically go through the hole and reach the mounting bracket to get it on, because you've got the controls further back and it's a bit thicker and rounder, so it doesn't actually fit in this position. If you move the lens then forward, it does fit. Okay, so you can undo the screw on the bottom of the mount, slide the mount forward slightly, and it will go on. That's not a problem. The problem is that you then struggle to use some of the controls. So it's something to be aware of if you're going to use a big 100 to 400mm lens. It's not ideal for that. Also, my two, what I will call my wedding lenses, or my portrait lenses, or my people lenses, the lenses that I used to use for landscape that are now too heavy, my 50 to 140, which is the best and sharpest lens that Fuji make to date, is the ultimate lens, doesn't fit. Okay, again, you have to take the mounting plate off the bottom. So basically, this is I think this is a red lens. Yeah, this is a red class lens. This is a red class lens, and also the 16 to 55 is a red class lens. So these are red badge lenses. They don't fit this as it is, because they've got a thicker mount on the bottom. You can see there it's a lot thicker, and it doesn't go in. This will not go in. This is the 16 to 55. It won't go in that mount. It won't go far enough back to reach. Ideally, what Atoll could do with is making this ring another 10mm bigger. Maybe take it from a 77 to an 82, and this will then work perfectly. Same with the 100 to 400 will work perfectly. The problem I've got with this one, and the reason it won't work, is because on the side of here you've got this adjustment screw where you flip the camera around. The adjustment screw will not go inside the ring. So again, the adjustment screw for your horizontal vertical positioning on the side there, it won't go in. So I'm ever so sorry to mention that the 3 red class lenses or red badge lenses do not fit in this system as it is a standard. Just something I needed to make sure you knew. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. I'm definitely going now. Oh, and by the way, doing this, I've just knocked over a whole glass of orange juice. Everything on my computer's just got covered in orange, and I now need to tidy up. Bye bye.